easy go.
Right guys, this is going to be my first Nightfall solo for the week. For those who just want to see the run, then skip to the time on the screen. For the rest of you, I'll show you my weapons, build and Nightfall card. So first of all, there's 3 different Nightfalls in rotation now, for those that don't know. Most of us know by now. So the Nightfalls that are in rotation this week is Inside Terminus, Exodus Crash and Savathun Song. In this one, we'll be doing Exodus Crash first. For the Nightfall card, I'll show you what that setup is. It is 0 handicap, as we're going for completion, easy completion, void singe, grenadier and momentum. So momentum's to help us stay alive, really helps out at the boss. If you haven't got any health perks on whatever character that you're playing, then put momentum on. I would always put momentum on anyways. You just need to get used to playing with it if you haven't, but it is a really good perk. It also recharges your melee ability quicker while momentum's active. It's good for that. We're using Void Singe as we're basing most of our build around Void, so we're putting Void on. And we're going to run Grenadier for this one, which will make more sense. So we're not putting Heavyweight on, quite simply for the fact that the boss goes in Viz quite a lot. So you can't really mow him down like you think you can, even with Heavyweight on. You're going to do a lot of damage to him, but he's going to go in Viz quite often, so we're okay having just the Void Singe on as our multiplier for our weapons. You know, I'm not too interested in Heavyweight as it'll make more sense, like I say, but we're using Grenadier. So weapons, we're using Devils, IKL or Shotgun, and a sword. So the Devil's just a random roll one. IKL or Shotgun is because it's my highest level shotgun. If you have a Void shotgun, a good Void shotgun like Zenith of your kind or something, you made that one Void from year 1, put that on. I just didn't upgrade it and forgot about it, to be honest. But you want to put a Void shotgun on, as it's going to play into the whole build of this. But we have a Void sword on. Swords are really good for the boss fight on Exodus Crash. It's not too bad for getting up to the boss as well, so a sword's great. Other weapons are going to do you well, you know, rockets and stuff like that. Any Void weapon's going to do you good, really, but a sword is easy to use and good for the boss. Quick burst of damage. So our subclass, so we're using the new Void Nova Warp subclass. So I'll read out the perks. The perk here, this isn't really a perk, this is just what the super does. So the super is going to be a Roman one, and it's going to be like a Nova but a Roman super, and you can detonate an explosion on enemies or a boss or anything. It can be mini explosions, or it can be you hold it down, and the longer you hold it down, the bigger the explosion is, which you'll see. So the Atomic Breach, this basically gives you melee bloom. It just means that the ad will explode if you kill the ad with the melee, that is. This perk's super interesting, which you'll see me test out. So the Handheld Supernova, so you can convert your grenade into like a Nova, a mini Nova. It's awesome in PvP as it one-shots. In PvE, it has its place, but you'll see where it's not effective and where it is effective. Dark Matter is what makes this tree, which is awesome. Similar to Devour, not as good as Devour, of course. It's like a mini Devour, so all your Void abilities grant you health, melee and grenade and class ability energy back. If you combine this subclass tree with Nezarec Sin, which it says Void kills increase ability regen, so therefore it all stacks at top of each other. So if you get, you know, a multi-kill with your grenade, you're going to get it back instant. Combine this with Grenadier like we have, it's going to do a lot. If you run out your grenade, get a melee kill, then you're going to get your grenade back, you're going to get your rifts back, you're going to get everything back so quick. So this is really good for that. All my armor's not optimized, it's just all my highest light stuff, apart from the helmet. But I'm putting the helmet on just to see how it all plays in. So apart from that, that's the build of weapons and everything. Right, so as we start, we've got pulse waves to pick up. Now you can skip all of these, but I was just wanting to showcase how quickly you can get your grenade back with nezarec, grenadier, stuff like that. Like I say, naded, and I got it back straight away. See it there. Get a multi-kill, get my grenade back. So it is really powerful. Even without grenadier, I would have got my grenade back pretty quick as well. Seeing the buff there, the extractors. So whilst that buff is active, I'm going to keep getting increased ability energy. So it really works well when I'm getting the multi-kills. Here's the Handheld Supernova, which, to be honest, isn't as powerful as just a normal grenade sometimes. Especially when we're dealing with trash mobs, because the Handheld Supernova will only track 1 or 2 enemies. So it's more of a PvP thing. However, when you're aiming for one target, it's kind of nice. Especially where if you're running around and you haven't got the time to, you know, aim your grenade perfect, the Handheld Supernova will track your enemies. So you'll see I'll use that a little more often at the boss. But it's quite nice. Also, I'm using Scatter Grenade over Vortex, just because we've used Vortex for like a whole year. So nice to change it up. And also, Scatter Grenades are really, really powerful. Here, take out both of these Minotaurs, I think. One Scatter Grenade. Pretty strong. So right now, I'm just running around collecting all the pulse waves. Now you can have 2 different rotations also on these. Like I said on my previous video, you can have an out and out fallen edition on this bit, where you have fallen snipers, which is actually harder, because if you're sparrowing around, it can demolish you while you're on your sparrow. So it's actually better not to be on your sparrow if there's a lot of snipers around. If I've got a pulse wave there, you need to get all the pulse waves to spawn in the fallen at the top. The Vex will already be there, but the fallen won't if you don't get all the pulse waves. So now I've got my super just to see what it's like for ag control, and it is really good. As you see, I'm getting my grenade while I'm getting the super kills as well. It's really, really good for major damage as well. You're seeing all of those were mini explosions that didn't charge it up, I don't think. And what you'll find as well with this super, it does not cost more energy to charge your detonation up, it just costs more time. So in turn it's more energy, but the bar just slowly decreases. It doesn't, it's not like with Dawnblade or something where you use your energy. So that's quite nice. So, a couple of the new supers are like that. So with this section you can also skip all of this, but again I'm wanting to showcase the class off, and I want my super. You see, that's the thing as well, I'm building up my super energy super quick by doing all these ability skills. The nezarec sin is kind of what the Tempest is for Stormcaller. It's kind of the same thing. But the key thing with nezarec sin is that you could hit any void damage. So if your weapons are void, you're going to get the extractors to proc. That's why I was saying if you have a void shotgun. I don't know if there's any good void. I haven't seen any good void shotguns, I don't think yet. But if you do get one, it's highlight, then use it in this build, because then it's even. Stay close. Then you can keep your extractors up even more. So. Not to mention, I'm getting my wrists back off him. I didn't realise how quick I was getting wrists back as well during this. Totally forgot about that. But this is a good point to be spamming rips as well, because now we're at a control point. So you say there's a progress bar, we need to stay in this circle for that to go up. If the plate becomes hectic, like it is a little for me now, that's no problem. We can just come off the plate, let the ads group up, and I can nade them. and the bar will just, you won't lose progress, it'll just stay. At 50% we'll get 2 servitors. I think you get that no matter what rotation of ads you're on. You get 2 major servitors with a bunch of shanks, and then at like 80% something you'll get whatever your rotation is. So if it's fallen, it's heavy shanks. If it's Vex, it's going to be a Hydra and a bunch of major minotaurs. But you'll always get the shanks, no matter what, the little small shanks. I had a super to go, so I thought I would use it for damage coming up. What happened to my scatter there? Now at first I was just doing the mini explosions, which I seen wasn't doing the biggest damage. I started charging. I was pretty weak. I ended up hurting myself with my own nade. That's the thing with scatters. Can't happen. But a full super would kill a servitor if I'd stayed there long enough. So it's not amazing for boss damage, but it is moderately good. But the thing is, it's versatile super. You seen there, I just used my handheld supernova and it didn't even hit anything, so you have to be within range for it to be effective. So you've got to master the range of it. It takes a bit of getting used to it. Another thing to note, you don't need to be in the circle during the servitor phase because the bar won't go up. It'll just stay at 50% until both servitors are killed. The obvious build for this on a Warlock would be, of course, Devour. As you could just, you could put Huckleberry on or Risk Runner. Doesn't really matter, just any weapon to be honest. But with Devour, you could stay in that circle and stay alive. Like I say, I want to show off the new subclasses, see what they're like, because we have played with the old classes for like a year now. So what you find with these Hydras is that don't get the nade right perfectly in the middle, you'll just get immune damage. So like the handheld supernova there you're seeing, it does do a lot of damage to one major target. It's when it's multiple targets, so probably best to use it when you're either killing just one ad to keep your extracted chain going, or on a boss or a key target. But any other time you should just be using your normal grenade. For PvE anyways, for PvP it's a different situation. So, in this section, of course we're going to skip all of this, there's no point. It's actually a public area, as you can see there's a public event going on. Also you see the score's now 0, so on score runs, not worth to be killing ads here either. There's never a good time to be killing ads here. Sometimes there'll be a public event flag you can pick up, fill back up on your heavy. But if not, you just go ahead and get all the pulse waves. Now if it was a lot of fallen pikes around, they can wreck you while you're on your sparrow, so just be careful when you're on your sparrow in this section. Now coming up, we only have one key target to kill. We're still in the public space, and it's going to be a heavy tank. Not a major tank, but a tank that's quite a lot of HP.
Zavala's gonna be so mad you cut him out of this. Onward.
Now on my rotation, I don't know if there's different rotations on this bit, but he's going to spawn with 2 shanks. I'm guessing if it's the other rotation he'll spawn with minotaurs, but you want to be careful of the shanks. You don't have to kill the shanks. they can wreck when you're up close to them. At this point as well, you want to save on sword ammo. Mine caps out at 38 for the way my sword's set up. So I didn't really want to. You want plenty of sword ammo for the boss fight. While the shanks aren't really focusing me, I do some damage to the tank. If you were running any other heavy, it would be better in this situation than a sword, of course. The sword helps out a lot when we get to the boss, like you'll see. It's one of the only Nightfalls where it's actually beneficial to run a sword over other heavies, which is quite nice to constantly having sleeper or rockets on or something. Okay, so this room, it can be completely skipped. You just need to be quick enough. So as soon as that door comes up and you want to run up the platforms, momentum. This is where this is going to help us. Equip my sword just to make the jumping a little easier for me. It was easier in third person. That shank can wreck you. He's a wanted target, I think. As long as you're quick enough, because there is a couple of snipers that just jump past there, but as you know, I don't know what happened to my nade there. Sometimes it does that, it just explodes on itself. Maybe it's because I've got the scatter grenade version. I don't know whether the supernova changes depending on what nade you have. I think it's just the same. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's just the same. I haven't actually played around with that. This is where I like the supernova for, like, when the shanks are controlling areas, I can just be running around with momentum and use my supernova to take them out quite easily. Okay, so to save on sword ammo, I wanted to start off with my super for damage, which, to be honest, I suggest that you charge your explosions, not just do the mini ones. You want to charge. You'll do a lot more damage if you do the charge ones. You would have took off quite a bit more than what I did. It just saves on sword ammo. You want sword ammo for later on in the fight. It depends on your ammo drops. There's a bit of luck with it. So now the next objective is to kind of get the shanks, because they're going to control parts of the map. That's what you want to do. You just want to be running around, keep momentum active, and use your supernova when you can, or a nade. Supernova's quite nice when you're kind of running around. You can just pre-charge it. This is what I like it for with these shanks. You can just run around. It's best to have top map control with this map, because often middle will get congested on the later phases. Yeah, like that's why I highly recommend momentum, especially for a boss like this where there's nowhere to hide really. There's a couple of spots at the back, but they're not really effective anywhere. Another thing as well, I'm trying to get as many ability kills as I can, mainly to kind of farm super as well for when I need it. You'll see me melee when I can and stuff. Where the sword damage will come in, so I get the whirlwind times 5. There's a lot of damage to him. In a boss arena like this also, you close quarter weapons are going to do well. So shotguns, hand cannons, you're not going to be wanting pulse or scout or snipers on. Not really. Not for a fight like this where it's run and gun. So now I've got the next rotation, and I think it's servitors. So there's 2 servitors spawn. It would have been handy if I had a super to spawn kill them, which I didn't. But I think on the next phase I do. Just trench battle to take out the servitor. It's not the hardest boss fight. It's more about when it's ad phase, you forget about the boss. Really, you try to forget about him and focus ads. If you try and melt the boss down, that's when you're gonna have issues. Because the game won't forget what ad spawns need to come in. So if you do a lot of damage, you're gonna get all the ad spawns at once as well. Do a handheld supernova to see the damage. It's pretty good. Now we've got our next set of ads, which is going to be the same as last. I tried to get as much boss damage in there as I could, while the ads were kind of well coming up. This is where like you get the pros to the super. Sometimes with a major target you do want to hold the explosion in like that. Kind of unkillable in your super as well, because you're getting the health regen. But it is nice in that respect. I don't think teleporting within your super wastes your IV. Like I said, just 1 bar and it just goes down, and in that allotted time you can do what you want. You can do mini explosions, or you can just do all of them as charged. There's a skill to this super, you can't just pick it up, you've got to, like I haven't properly used it yet. So now it's the next ad phase again, so I'm focusing servitors, just running around the map and using my shotgun or my nades. As you can see, most of the map is taken up, and if we stand in that electrical arc, it's going to slow us down. The boss will probably get on top of us, because I can hear him behind me. Another thing with each rotation, which I forgot to mention, even though the shanks control certain parts of the map, there'll be a part of the map that's always electrified, always. So the earlier stages it was the back of the map. Not sure which one it is now, but there's always a stage where there's a map that you just can't access without being slowed down. So right now, yeah, it's the back of the map that's you take the fighting stages, so shanks first, then it's your ads, and then you can go to boss DPS and then rinse and repeat. We have plenty of sword armor as well for the end, the boss. He disappears one more time, so he still disappears quite a lot, but not as much. I know a lot of people don't like this one, but it's one of my favourites. It's one of my favourites for scores, one of my favourites for solos. Especially now anyways. So we finish off the boss with the super. Like I said, when you're doing boss damage with this super, you want to be doing the detonation, holding it down, and the mini explosions for trash mobs, any key targets, you hold it down. It's the best way to use it.
Yeah, I guess.
But that was solo on the Exodus. Probably do Inside Terminus as well, and maybe some others if I have time. But that was my first one. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.